Hello and welcome to another video on the Grimwood Watch Modern channel, and today we're going to take a closer look at my Pagani Design PD1662 GMT. When Pagani released this model, I was over the moon. Basically a GMT in the same case as the 1651, which I did a review on a few months back. If you haven't seen that review, I'll stick a link at the top of this video. It is a good watch. I love the 1651, so I was going to love this watch, right? Well, let's dive in and take a closer look and see if I do like it as much as that other sub-Pagani design watch. So first off, let's start with the specifications. So case diameter is 40mm, lug to lug is 47.5mm, thickness is 13.5mm, and lug width is 20mm. The movement inside this is an automatic DG5833 GMT. The dial is obviously black with luminous blue markers. The bezel is unidirectional 60 click with a metal insert. It is advertised as ceramic, but I've checked this out and it's definitely a metal insert on this model. Case material is 316L stainless steel. It's got a water resistance of 100 meters, which is aided by the screw down crown and case back. Strap is a stainless steel bracelet with a deployment style clasp. As you can see, it's also got a dive extension within that. Sapphire crystal on the top with a cyclops. Weight is around about 155 grams, 156 grams, and overall cost which I paid for this watch is £78, which I overall at those specs think is a bargain. So first impressions of this watch is good. Personally, I think the coke colour scheme is just lovely, and when I got it out of the box I was very impressed at the way it looked. It does look like a lot more watch for your money. Yet again, the sizing of this watch is perfect for my smaller wrists. 40mm case, not too thick. It really does work for me. Weight wise as well, at around about 150 grams, I also find that a nice little sweet spot. You know the watch is on the wrist, but it's not too heavy. Firstly, we'll look at the dial, and yet again it's basically the Rolex inspired layout that the majority of Pagani design watches use in all their sub-style designs. This version has got a gloss black dial, as you can see there. The Tudorisk, as I call it, shield logo at the 12 o'clock with the Pagani design word underneath that, and at the 6 o'clock we obviously have the specifications such as water resistance and GMT. The 3 o'clock we obviously have that date function there underneath the cyclops, but I will get onto the cyclops later on in the video. Applied indices all the way around, which are nicely finished and done to a good standard. Moving up, the Rolex kinda inspired theme continues with the Mercedes handsets. Yet again, these are done to quite a high standard in my mind for the price of the watch, and that red GMT hand, the application of that red colour is very nicely done as well. The only gripe I have with it is there is a speck of dust on the second hand counterweight there, which when I do take it apart to do my modability video I will take off, because I think this is going to be a very good base yet again for one of my modifications. So with that, let's have a quick look at the Lume. So, on the Lume side of things, you know what I'm going to say, it's an absolute disappointment, but this is the same for the majority of Chinese watches I do get my hands on. After half an hour you can barely read the time on the hands or the dial, so if you are looking for a watch that has a bit of Lume to it, this is not the one for you. So with that out of the way, let's move on. Next, the bezel, and I had high hopes for this based on the PD1651, which has a great action, and basically this watch is based around the same case and bezel. However, the GMT isn't as good. Don't get me wrong, it's not bad by any terms of the word, but just not as good as the 1651. Now, the reason why I say that is the action just doesn't feel as precise, and when you actually go against the ratchet, as in go clockwise, you can see there is a lot of lateral movement on the actual full bezel assembly, which I found is quite a shame. Now, the actual style in itself is basically all in all Rolex. As you can see, the Rolex style bezel grips on the outside. The other thing is it's not really a true GMT functional bezel because it's unidirectional and it's 60 click. It's basically nicked straight from the diver version of this watch. However, to keep costs down and get it in the price range, they're just reusing parts from other series of watches. in this case the PD 1651. Moving on to the insert, and in this version I've gone for the Coke colour scheme because I just love it. It is advertised as being ceramic, however the only two options which in my mind are ceramic are the Batman and also the black insert. I have taken this one off, I have scratched the back on the underside, and I can say for sure that this is metal. Now just take this into account, Rolex has just cracked in the last couple of years the process of making a Pepsi style bezel in ceramic, and even then in my mind it's not that crisp as a metal insert, so you can say that an 80 quid watch that has basically a Pepsi or Coke style bezel would not have cracked that either. And as we can see here, the contrast with this bezel is good. It also has that metallic shine to it. So the Pepsi version and the Coke version I'm going to put my money on are metal inserts, not ceramic. Now let's take a ganders at the case. And the case itself is 316L stainless steel. Nothing out the ordinary there. We have a nice bit of polishing on both sides of the case. There's a few tiny machine marks in it, but nothing to write home about. We have a nice bit of brushing on the top as well, and we have those nice chunky crown guards at the 3 o'clock position which are guarding the crown. Now on with the crown action is actually quite smooth with this Pagani. The majority of them that I've got in the past, they've been gritty and it takes a fair few weeks for them to bed in. This one however was smooth out the box, which is a bonus. And when I'm on with the crown, let's go through some of the settings for the movement. So at the first stage we have both date set, as you can see there, quick change, and we also have a GMT set function as well. The only problem is, let's say I want to set it at the 6 o'clock position there. If I push it in, that GMT hand does move out of position. So what you basically have to do is set it before the actual point you want to set it at, and it's basically trial and error if you do get an exact position. The other good thing is when you're setting the GMT hand, the second hand's still going, so you don't actually upset your main time. Now this has obviously got a hacking function as well. As you can see there, I've pulled it to the second position to actually change the time there, and basically wind and hacking all available, which is a nice function with this movement if I dare say so. And it's a bit of an improvement over my old harness that I've got, because that didn't actually have hacking, but it still has the same unique kind of trait of having a GMT hand that does jump once you push the crown back in. So to top the watch off, we have this nice bit of flat sapphire crystal with a cyclops that actually does work and magnify the date quite well. Now for all the doubters out there, I have gone and brought my actual diamond tester in. As we can see there, I'll just adjust it slightly just to show that this bit of crystal on the top of this watch is a sapphire crystal. As we can see there, nice strong signal. So with that out of the way, let's move on. Moving on to the case back, and as we can see there, we have a lovely display case back to show off that DG GMT movement in there. The rotor has also got some nice Pagani Design cues on it as well, which I think is a nice touch. The case back is slightly thicker, ever so slightly, than the Pagani Design 1651. I'm guessing that's because the movement itself is slightly thicker. Now one thing to actually take into account with this movement, it is a unidirectional rotor on it. As you can see there, it winds one way, doesn't the other, and this can generate a bit of noise when you're wearing it, so just keep that in mind when you actually purchase the watch. However, in all honesty, I don't mind that, and I don't really notice when it's actually freewheeling. There is a bit of noise made, as you can hear, but it's nothing to kind of shout home about. Now we move on to the biggest letdown of this watch in my mind, the bracelet. Now the bracelet, in all intents and purposes, is exactly the same as the one that I've got on my PD 1651, and I quite like that. However, with this particular watch, a lot of the actual links are quite tight. As you can see there, they just don't fall out. You have to actually pull them out. The fitment against the case, there's big gaps. As you can see there, one side there's a gap at one side, the other side, as we can see there, there's a big gap, and the actual clasp action is very, very hard. To be honest, it actually hurts me nail trying to open it, and trying to get the dive extension out, yeah, that's just a no-go. And I honestly think this is a bit of a lottery between watches, because I did have some people on my other video for the PD 1651 saying that their bracelet was absolutely atrocious. So it's one thing to bear in mind, it's pot luck if you get a decent bracelet or not. And here is the Pagani Design GMT on my 6 3/4 inch wrist, and I can honestly say it wears very, very well. The size and basically makes it a perfect fit for people that have smaller size wrists like myself. And even though the bracelet is a bit stiff between some of the links and the clasp is a right pain to take off because it is also stiff, once it's on the wrist it is very, very comfortable. And to be honest, the presence this watch has is yet again very noticeable as well. It just looks the part, I think. So actual wearability on the wrist and look, I give it top marks for. So my final thoughts on the Pagani Design 1662 GMT. Well, in all honesty, for £78 you're getting a lot of watch for your money. Automatic GMT function in Rolex style, it is just in my mind a no-brainer. Now a lot of you are going to be screaming at the screen now going, buy a Parnas, it's 20 quid cheaper, yada yada yada. I have done a comparison video between this and a Parnas that I own. Click the link at the top of this video, I will go into more detail, but at the end of the day the Parnas in my mind won out just because I felt the quality was better. It got more marks at the end of the video and I just like it over the Parnas personally. Now it does have a few kind of issues such as the stiff bracelet and clasp, and the bezel action is a bit poor, and the lume is absolutely shocking, but for a Chinese watch lume is basically the down point on a lot of them. So with that all out of the way, please put in the comments, would you get this 1662 GMT from Pagani Design? Would you get the Parnas instead, or would you just save up and actually buy a Swiss made GMT? If you have liked this video, please press the like button, subscribe, press the bell button for future notifications, and as always, keep safe and I will see you soon.